I need to introduce all of you to Mr. Jaideep Bhattacharya. He has been a senior software engineer in Microsoft. And the best part is like he's working in Microsoft on one of the popular product which we all use, Microsoft Teams. It has been very popular. I think you have all been using, be it for your classes. A lot of colleges has been using that. And but for the corporate world, Microsoft Teams has been the go-to video conferencing system. So Jaideep works as a product engineer on that. So that's interesting. We'd like to know from him a little more. Jaideep has 13 years of experience with him working for big tech companies. Before to Microsoft, he was with Adobe, Oracle, and Huawei. Quite a good amount of experience for us to share. Yeah, that's the biggest point that I think that we are going to take from him today. He has worked on multiple domains: telecom, content management, cloud storage, video conferencing. So a wide array of topics he has his expertise on. Apart from that, it's not about the tech part. He's only into it. He's also, as I know, he's a good photographer, a PC gamer, and a YouTuber himself. And I want to stress on this part about the YouTube. He runs a channel called Joy of Life, which is very much centered around programming, system design, and about interview tips and suggestions. So he's very much eager to talk on this topic, and I think he's the best person for us today to share his experience, give us a bit of tips and tricks which can help get in there. So that's the part of it. So with much ado, I would like to invite Mr. Jaideep Bhattacharya uh, among us. Joy, are you there?
Yeah, thanks, Shivajit. I am there. I hope
Yeah,
I am clear to all.
slightly, yeah. It's audible. Yeah, I can hear you.
I'll start my video as well for
Yes.
let me know once you can see me, guys. Hello,
Yes.
once again.
Say hi to Joy.
Hello, all.
Everybody, yeah. Just type in hello, a welcome message, a good message for all of you on the chat message can boost up for the uh, Joy to present a much better session, which we can. Yes, great. I
Great,
know there is
thanks.
a lot of Joy. Just to introduce about that is like you will get a lot of our students. Mostly they are into final year or the pre-final year in their engineering,
Right.
mostly from the CAC background. But there may be certain participant from non-CAC background also. But purely, as I know, you will also have something for them too, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's good. So I think with that, give the stage over to you. And yes,
Yeah, so let me share my screen and let's begin.
yes. Sorry, Joy, just one point before you start. I would like to request all our participants. So if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat window. Though I will request, we will have one more interactive session at the end of Joy's presentation. He has a very interesting presentation for us. We will nominate, pick up few of their good questions from the batch. Maybe we'll know if we have time and to attend to that. But whatever question comes in mind, and please use the chat window. Request you to please be on mute during the session. If you have any point, we have the chat window. Please drop in your message. Yes, and try to make the best out of this session. Over to you, Joy.
Thanks. So I'd be sharing my screen. So let me give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Is it visible? Just let me know. Shivajit, can you see my screen? Yeah,
Yes,
I
I
can.
can.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so before we begin, I would like to
Recording in
thank.
progress.
Okay,
Sorry. Yeah.
it's okay. Yeah. So before we begin, I would like to thank Shubhajit and Scout Life for giving me the opportunity to connect with you all. So thank you once again, all of you, for joining the session. And I have a question over here. So this is the same question that I asked myself during my college days or when I was starting my career. Just let me minimize this. Yeah. So to introduce myself, I am Joydeep. I am from Kolkata. I am a Bengali. And about my background, I am a BCom graduate from Commerce. Then I did MCA from a Tier 2 college. So you can understand that pretty much answers your question, right? It hardly matters what you have done. It actually matters what you can do now. So if you are from a tier 2 company, there is nothing to feel that you cannot make it to Google or Microsoft, nothing like that. Nobody is stopping you. If you have the right skill set, if you have the right knowledge, you are always going to make through. I have 13 years of experience mostly at the backend side. I have been a Java developer from the starting of my career. Currently, I am with Microsoft as a senior software engineer for their video conferencing software called Teams, though I'm using Zoom now, but that's okay. And I have a patent, so I could make some innovation in one of the companies where I got a patent, which is an approved patent. And here is a link to my LinkedIn, so you guys can just go ahead and visit my profile. Send me a request if you like. If you can follow, if you want, you can follow me. It's fine. These are the companies that I have worked with. I have done my internship with Sapient back in 2008, and unfortunately, after that, we all lost the job because of the Great Recession, right? So again, here is another example that it's not going to matter if you're losing your job, if you are starting late, everything can be compensated by what you do right now, what you know right now. Followed by that, I joined a company called Huawei. So it's a Chinese company. I spent a lot of time in China, and then I joined Oracle for one of their business platforms, wherein we are developing some migration tools. I won't go in much details. After that, I wanted to explore out the embedded side of the system. I joined Honeywell, wherein I was working with some embedded systems, controllers and devices mostly. Then I joined Adobe with their CRM team and content management system as well, and later moved on to cloud and storage solutions. It was completely like a Dropbox or Google Drive, you can say, where Adobe manages all its assets in the sense file that you create in Photoshop or Lightroom. And about 3 or 4 months, I joined Microsoft for their Microsoft Teams. And this entire experience, except for Microsoft, was entirely in Java, and now have started working in .NET. So another important message over here, don't restrict yourself, don't confine yourself to any of the technology or domain. Be open, explore things. You have endless like any company you take, a non-IT company is dependent on an IT company. May it be pharma, may it be any company, you can take it, right? Any government organization, everything is getting digitalized, right, these days. So go ahead and explore things, and you will learn a lot. And it's always good to know a lot about how the entire industry is working, right? How different sectors are working. So a little bit more about myself. So what do I do in my free time? So first of all, ignore the guitar. That was just a lockdown effect. So I have made my background hazy. So I spend most of my time playing games in my free time. PUBG, not the mobile version, but the PC version. Counter-Strike, Red Dead Redemption, FIFA. So it's important that you give your brain that relaxation, right? It only when you give it rest, then only it will grow. I am into a lot of photography. Mostly I was into street photography. I collect a lot of coins and antiques. I am a big dog lover. I love dogs. I often go to, there is a center called Care to groom dogs. It's mostly the stray dogs. And this another lockdown effect. I started with hydroponics and aquaponics, but again, this failed. So why I'm telling about my failures, right? Because it doesn't matter. It's okay. The important part is you tried, right? Unless you fail, you won't learn anything. So try out things, whatever you like, and try explore everything that comes to your mind. It's okay to fail. And apart from that, since the starting of my career, I spent a lot of time doing mentoring and coaching. And with the lockdown, I could not do so. I could not pursue it to a great extent. So that's when I thought of starting my own YouTube channel, we are going to talk about it soon. And before that, let's talk about something important. Why are we here? So how do we make it to Google or Microsoft, right? That's the question that you guys wanted to know from me, right? So one thing I want to suggest is you have to be systematic and you have to take your preparation to a good level, right? So you have to dedicatedly study few things. We are going to talk more in details about all these things. So I have split this into four parts over here. So study and interview prep. I advise you not to mix them up. So when you are studying, study to know the things, not just for the interview, because it's a long-term thing and you are going to need it. So in study, coding, data structure, algorithms, design pattern, coding principle, here are the few things that I have listed. I am going to talk about it more in details. When coming to the interview preparation, it's a completely different ball game, right? So in an interview, you have to be systematic, right? You have to follow a few of the approaches because in study you have unlimited amount of time that you can spend, but in an interview you have just 60 minutes to get things done. So these two things should not be mixed, and we are going to talk about it in more details. And since you are freshers and you are going to step into the industry, right? And there are like millions of freshers coming into the industry every year. So there is a tough competition. And when you take names like Google, Microsoft, it's even more tougher, right? Because there are so many candidates out there. There are good colleges like IIT and IITs and all. You need to compete with them all. So you have to have some add-ons over here. So what do I mean by add-ons? So read the engineering blogs, try to understand how the world is operating, right? So if you take any company, let's say you take Swiggy, you take Flipkart, you take Amazon, Google, Microsoft, name any company and just Google out their engineering blogs. You'll find a lot of materials, right? Go through them, try to understand how Swiggy is rolling out a feature, right? It's good to know. It's not about only coding when it comes to the industry, right? It's quite more than that. So when I say about features, it's not just a single code. What I mean is the entire design of the system, how the design operates, right? There are so many moving parts. There are so many components that work together. So we need to understand them all, right? And it's not possible that you understand it just before your interview. It's a regular process. So you spend time, understand all these things. There are new frameworks coming every day. So if you pick up, say, Java or JavaScript, there are so many frameworks coming in, right? If you take programming languages, there are so many languages that coming up. Things are evolving in a day-to-day basis. So being a software engineer, one big tip is that learning never ends for you. It's not like other jobs wherein like a chartered accountant, you did your course and you are good to go. You need to brush up, you need to know little bit here and there, but not in a software industry. It's a continuous learning process. Every single day you have to learn something new. And then comes the final part, which is your interview, right? The interview, this everything that we are doing is to get this interview and to clear this interview, right? So in an interview, what are you evaluated? You are evaluated definitely based on your coding abilities, your problem solving abilities. Apart from that, what a good team needs, right? I'm talking about 5 or 10 people in a team. So they need to work together, right? So it's a complete ecosystem, right? Everybody needs to understand each other's thought, respect each other's thought. So we need to talk and understand about all these things. So I'm about to give you a very small example, right? So few months back, you all might have noticed that WhatsApp, the most uh, commonly used messaging platform in India, was down for several hours, right? And we were not able to send message. So do you think only reversing a linked list or inverting a binary tree would have fixed it? Of course, no, right? It's a big problem. It's a big system design problem. It's made up of thousands of components where every components interact with each other and they work in a complete ecosystem. So this is one part that I want to highlight. So I have been an interviewer for more than 10 years now. I have been interviewing freshers, experience all of them. So one thing I feel that system design is something that is very important for a fresher to know, right? So where your college ends and your professional journey begins, there is a gap, and this gap needs to be bridged. right? So this is a very important in terms of system design. So this is one area that you should focus on. And second is we write codes, right? So in college, mostly we do small projects. We work on solving data structure problem, algorithm problem, but it's not the only thing, right? So when you are working in a team, there is a huge project that's been developed for over 10 years or 5 years or 3 years, right? So if you take Microsoft Teams, for example, it's already 2 or 3 years old, right? And there are so many files, so many code bases that I need to understand. It's not just a single file, right? So you need to understand how you should structure your code. So that's where your design pattern and coding principle, right, comes into picture. So you need to have a good understanding of all those things. So what I have done, so as I mentioned that I love to mentor, I love to coach, and I didn't had an opportunity during the lockdown. So I started a channel of my own. Shubhajit will be sharing the link with you guys. So I called it Joy of Life. I just kept my name. So here is the channel, youtube.com/c Joy of Lives. I have to add an extra S because the name wasn't available. The Joy of Life was taken. So what do I have in this channel to help you guys, to mentor you guys? So the first thing is uh, few of the contents that I have highlighted over here. You will get contents on tips and suggestion videos, like how do I get an internship call, right? How do I get into an internship program? How do I apply online? What should I do during my internship, right? And also many of my friends has reached out to me and asked this question that how do I get an interview call from big tech companies? I apply but I don't get a call from them. What should I do? So I have tried to create a video on them, so this could be helpful for you guys as well. Apart from that, I have interview preparation guides that I have done 2 videos after my Microsoft interview. So this one is for coding. So what should you do in a coding interview and what you should do in a system design interview. So this will also give you some good insights on how to prepare. And these videos are very interactive. I keep a track of them. So if you have doubts, I go ahead and create more content on them. Apart from that, for system design fundamentals, so many of you might not be aware this how these big systems work, right? So I've started a new series. So this one you see over here is a series wherein we are going to start from the scratch and take it to a higher level to understand how an entire system works. And previously also I've done a mini project. It was more of a coding hands-on project wherein I have implemented myself a mini URL parser, right? So you can go ahead and check on them and try to build on your own. And the last one is the lead code problems, right? That is also one important part. So you can do the system design things in parallel with your lead code problems or any platform Coder Earth. There are so many platforms these days, right? Coder Earth, Hacker Rank. So I have done some 60, 70 lead code problems, mostly medium and hard, wherein I have explained how I approach the problem, how to handle the problem, how to make it more efficient, and also some conceptual videos on BIGO and other concepts on data structure algorithm. So please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you think it's going to be helpful. And if you want to stay connected with me, it's definitely going to be helpful. So Shubhajit will be sharing the link. So Shubhajit, if you can share the link with them. In the meantime, I'll just grab some water.
Yeah, okay. Steve, I have already shared the link for YouTube on Joy's channel. What I can ask, show some love to Joy. Go ahead and subscribe to his channel. It's trust me, it's good amount of tons of resources, specifically useful for people who want to get into this tech companies, tech interviews, primarily the big tech companies, and where Joy shares his experience. And other part is like it's not about the content only. If you have any issues over any of this any problem, write to him, reach out to him. Ideally he will get back to you. And that's he because he loves, he's a very passionate about doing this, helping people get in, crack these interviews. So that's there, and I think he's also, if not YouTube, I think you have a Telegram channel also.
Yeah, so I have created a channel, a Telegram channel this morning. The link is over here as well. Thanks to my brother Abhishek Ranjan for sharing this. He was supposed to join the session. I'm not sure he's here or not. It was
Okay.
certainly a good idea to collaborate on a real time. So the
Yeah.
idea was great. So I thought of creating the channel and having it here.
Okay, okay, good. So I have shared the Telegram channel also to all of you on the chat window. Feel free to join. I will also share all of this after the meeting. Also, all the links will also be shared with you in our Discord channel and also on our email. Whoever has joined on that. Yeah,
Perfect. Now let's coming to the most important part, right? The ingredients and outcome of an interview, right? So I say that there are mainly three parts to it, right? So the first is your preparation, and the second one is your execution. So what I mean by execution is what you are doing during the interview. So it's okay to practice, it's good, but if you are not getting the intended outcome, it's not going to help, right? So I have split it up like this: 45% for your preparation, 45% for your execution, and 10% is your luck. So you cannot deny this. So it's always there. And what I want to say about this 10 part, so for 45 and this 45, we have a lot of slides, but for this 10%, I don't have a slide. So it's okay, everybody fails. I have also failed many times. If somebody says that I haven't failed in an interview or they solve any programming problems in that 60 minutes of interview time, there can be two cases. Either he has not faced a good interviewer or he is lying. It cannot be anything other than that. It's okay to fail, just learn from it and move on. Don't be hard on yourself. It's good to fail, you will learn a lot. Only your failure teaches you things. Your success never teaches you anything. So it's okay, take it with a good spirit, take it with a pinch of salt or whatever, just move on from that. So coming to the first 45% that we have mentioned about the interview preparation. So again, for the preparation part, I would suggest that you start with your data structure algorithm. So go through all the data structures that we have: linear data structure, non-linear data structures, and go through the design patterns. So two extra thing I'll mention over here. So go through the design pattern. So there are a lot of patterns, the GOF patterns, right? There are ways in which we create classes, right? We just cannot create ad hoc classes and leave them like that, right? So read about design pattern and read about design principle. So when you are designing a class, when you are writing a code, you have to follow certain principle in order to keep the code clean, right? So read about them. It's always adds up during your interview. An interviewer is going to notice how you are going to write the code and how you are implementing your method. Don't just create a single method and dump everything inside it. Give a meaningful name, have a proper return type, give meaningful names to the variables, write the code in a clean way, and do things accordingly, the way the industry works, right? So DS algo is something the college thinks, but design pattern and design principle, it's required for an entry level or a junior engineer who's joining the team. And the second is be aligned with your interview, right? So don't use the ID when you are practicing for your interview, because you are not going to have your ID when you are going to face the interviewer, right? So these days mostly it's online, so they will be sharing a link with you. Otherwise, what you have to do is you have to do it on a whiteboard, right? So when you are practicing, just be aligned with your interview. And other things are like don't spend too much time. So if you say lead code, if you are picking up a medium problem, don't spend more than 20 minutes. If you are not able to solve within 20 minutes, just leave that problem and move to the next problem. We are going to talk about the stuck problems in this part. So getting aligned means that you should be able to finish your interview, your program or the problem given to you within the time frame. So 20 minutes for medium problem, 40 minutes for hard problem, right? And be systematic when you do so. So spend every day 2 hours. Don't do like I practiced on Monday, again I practiced on maybe after 5 days or 6 days. Be systematic and do a systematic way, approach the problem in a systematic way. Start from easy problem, then move to the medium, then move to the hard, but be systematic on your approach. And when you solve a problem on a platform like LeetCode, it's not just about solving the problem, right? It's also important to know where your solution stands. So analyze your problem in terms of both space and time complexity. So when I come up with a solution, I need to know that my solution is efficient enough or not, right? A brute force approach might not be helpful all the time during your interview. So go ahead, check the other submissions made by the other people in the platform. So LeetCode provides you a very easy way. When you submit a program, it shows you that your program stands on the 80% of the submission or better than 90% of the submission. So see where you lie on the submission part. So if you think that there is a scope for improvement, that most of the submissions are at 90% and you are at 75%, that means there is a scope for your improvement, right? So don't leave on that. Go ahead and try revisiting the same problem after few weeks. We are going to talk about this handling part. So you can follow the same technique for the solution that are not up to the mark, right? Uh, Okay, so the important part, how to handle when you are stuck. So you guys might have this question in mind. So, okay, I try it, but what happens is I do not get the solution. I am stuck. What should I do? Do I go ahead, check the solution, or what should I do, right? So I have a solution for you here, and the solution came to my mind from a famous series, not a web series though. It's a Fibonacci series. So we all know Fibonacci series. This is one of the basic problem that we solve with recursion and without recursion, right? We add the two numbers to get the next number. So 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21. So I have used this technique in order to handle whenever I am stuck on a program or a problem. So let's see how we can leverage this. So this is my series over here, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21. Let's say these are my number of days, right? First day, second day, third day. And let's say I am solving 5 programs every day. Just a case, it could be more, right? So I tried a program, this program, and I failed. I was unable to get success. LeetCode gave me some error. Some test case might have failed. So what should you do in that case? Try to do the problem or try to revisit the problem after you have tried a couple of problems in the same day and give it a shot again. Let's say you fail over here as well. So leave it for that day. Come back to it on the second day. So pick up as the third program or fourth program, whatever it is, just give a shot on the second day. Let's say it fails. If it succeeds, nothing like it, but let's say it fails. Try it on the third day, then try it on the fifth day, then try it on the eighth day. So you can correlate that I have tried twice on the first day, right? Once on the second day, once on the third day, once on the fifth day, once on the eighth day. Similarly, then on the 13th day and finally on the 21st day. How does it going to help? So just think of this scenario that when you tried and failed over here and when you tried over here, right? You have solved so many problems in between. You have got so much of ideas in between. So definitely you are a better programmer at this point than at this point, right? So the Fibonacci series approach I felt was working quite nicely for me. I tried it in many of the cases in my life, not just only for programming. This is a very systematic approach in order to solve problems. So you can definitely give a shot at this, and it's always going to help you. There is nothing to lose in it, right? So you can see the number is constantly growing, right? But why did I stop at 21? So it doesn't make sense trying after 21 days, right? So what you should do is you should revisit the problem in LeetCode or whatever platform you have seen the problem. Try to go and check in their solution section. So you might say the solution section is only for the pro members, it's locked, right? It's not always locked, but most of the time it is locked. So Another thing you can go do is you can go to the discussion tab and you can see a lot of submission by the fellow programmers, right? So you can take a look from there. You just try to read and try to figure out how he's trying to solve the problem. The intention for us over here is to not increase the successful submission count at lead code, right? The intention for us over here is to learn from it. So learn from it and try after one day. So cook it in your mind for one day and try revisiting the problem and come up with the solution that you have learned yesterday. So that might be a very helpful way you can unblock yourself. You can do it for several things, this approach. Okay, so with that, uh, let's talk how do we get the calls, right? So another important part is how do I get the call? Okay, I have prepared for the interview, but how do I get the call, right? That is a critical part over here. So getting the call could be tricky at times. So one approach could be your building connections. So build the connections, reach out to people, right? So reach out to your colleagues, your friends. If you are working as an intern, don't hesitate. Reach out to people, make connection with them. You never know who is going to help you, right? Even to the strangers, you can do that, right? You need to come out of your shell, right? Your dream job is not going to walk towards you. You have to work towards it, right? So go ahead, find out the matching jobs from Google, Microsoft, whatever it is, and then try find out people like software engineer, senior software engineer, principal engineer, project managers, recruiters, and send them a LinkedIn request. There is no harm in that, right? And then show your interest, but be genuine that you did something, right? Just don't go empty-handed, build a project or something, back your resume by something really good. You should have a good GitHub profile wherein you should have a lot of programs that you have done. You should have your project in place, right? Otherwise, you're just going to get eliminated, or they are not going to respond back to you. So the first part is getting yourself prepared for the interview, right? And then only approach to the people. So trust me, if somebody approaches me and if I find that the person is willing to learn or has done something, I would be happy to refer. There is nothing stopping me, right? And there is a benefit for you. When I refer you, there is a benefit for me. So in most of the companies, you get a referral bonus. It's not bad. It's a win-win situation. But be prepared when you approach for something like that. The second thing is the coding contest. So Google, Microsoft, and any other big companies host a lot of coding contest. For example, Google, I think, is recently hosting some contest called Hash Code, Code Jam, and Kickstart. Maybe the names I don't exactly remember, but as far as I know, these are the names. And Microsoft is having Imagine Cup. Go ahead, register for them. So when you register, you will see that almost 4 million people has already registered, right? So you need to stand out. And how do you stand out? They, that's the part. You have to have a good GitHub profile. You have to have a tailor-made resume. That's the point I mentioned over here. So don't just have a single resume. So look at the kind of job or kind of opening that you're applying for. Make sure your resume or your profile is in sync with that. Let's say I have been a backend developer for 13 years. If I go ahead being a Microsoft engineer and apply for AI ML platform in Google, nobody is going to look at me, right? Be relevant. So when you are working on a project, may it be it on embedded system, AI ML, may it be on distributed system, cloud computing, whatever it is, go ahead and apply to the similar kind of internships or openings and then reach out to the relevant recruiters. So just go ahead and send them a request. Of course, you can send me a request. I'm more than happy to have you all in my profile. So just go ahead and send me a request if you want. Okay, coming to the other important part is your internship. So internship is something that is easier to crack than a job. So internship, if you get an internship, so I have already a video on internship. So internship, if you are getting, you are already putting a step inside the company, right? May it be for a smaller tenure, but the chances for converting an internship into a job is very high if you are serious about it, right? So try to get the internship, try to look out for the internship opportunities. There are bunch of sites, Internshala and many other sites. Even Google has a internship search baked into the Google search, right? Just go ahead and search for internship. You'll find a lot about it. Okay, so with that, we have talked about how do we prepare and how do we get the calls. Means I am not guaranteeing you'll get the call, but if you follow these steps, you will have a higher probability of getting the call. Nobody can guarantee that you will get a call, but it will increase your chances if you are systematic and if you are approaching the right way. Okay, during the interview, what is important is to know the interview setup and the interview format. So what do I mean by that? So you have a 60 minutes of time, right? So when I did the last hiring, I was having a meeting at 10 o'clock. I was having a meeting at 11:05, at 12, at 1, at every 1 hour. That means your interviewer is not going to give you more than 1 hour time. These days, everything is online, so the other guy would be waiting, right? So the time management is the key over here. You need to wrap up your interview on time. The interviewer might have other interviews scheduled and he might not give you extra time. So how do we manage this 60 minutes of time that we have? So I have split this into many sections. So the first section over here is 10 minutes I have given on the introduction part. So we are going to talk in more details. So you are going to meet somebody stranger and who is meeting you doesn't know you. So there involves an introduction. So try to wrap up your introduction within 10 minutes. And then you'll have 5 minutes. When you get the question, you need to understand the question and then you need to come up with the solution, right? So this 30 minutes I have kept for the solution. So if you remember what I have said previously is that you get only 20 minutes for a medium question. So I have given 10 minutes of buffer over here. Okay, because it might go here and there. The interviewer might have an extension to the problem as well, right? So in this 30-minute, try to wrap up your problem that was given to you, right? And then for the last 10 minutes, it's important that you talk about your complexity of the solution. So when you are coming with a solution, the interviewer is keen to know that what is the complexity of the solution. Ideally, you should talk it initially. When you get the solution, you should talk about it. So this 40 minutes is for your actual interview time when you should talk about your complexities and in terms of space and in terms of time. And then what we need in the industry and what everybody is keen about is knowing that when you are writing a code, what you are doing in order to protect your code. And the only way we protect our code is by writing test. What I mean by test is unit test cases. So when you are done with the program over here, write some test cases or talk about some test cases to show the interviewer that you have covered all the scenarios like the edge cases, the negative scenarios wherein you might get a null, how you are handling it. So write test cases on those things. That's going to be very important. And at the end, the last 5 minutes is for your feedback of the interview. So that is also important. So we are going to talk about them in a little more details. So talking about the introducing yourself to the interviewer, right? So these days, due to pandemic, everything is online, right? It's not happening on the campus. So make sure you turn on the webcam so that people can see you, so that they can connect to you. So just think of a scenario. If you can't see me, I turn my webcam off and I'm talking, you won't be able to connect to me, right? It creates a bonding between the two person, right? So make sure you turn on your webcam, greet your interviewer. It's a hard tip that I'm going to give you. So don't just address the interviewer by the first name. Don't be scared of him. Don't feel that he's going to be your boss or something like that. He's just another engineer who is going to be your colleague. So don't need to call him sir or anything like that. Even with me, don't call me sir. You can call me Joy or whatever you like, but not sir, right? It's not quite accepted by many of the people. So be free, don't be scared, just think that you're discussing with your friend or colleague, right? Second is, since I mentioned that don't spend too much time, so save the time. Keep your introduction short and crisp. So don't go in too much of details. Try to wrap up. This is where we are saving our time. Talk about the relevant experience or the relevant project only. And talk in a very high level, right? He might not be interested in it. So go deep when he asks you some follow-up question. That means that he liked what you did and he's interested to know about it. Before even asking, if you are spending too much time explaining your project and everything, that is where you are losing your time in this slide that I have shown you, right? So we are trying to end this within this 10 minutes time frame. Okay, now you got a problem. Now the problem was given to you, right? So don't jump to write the code. So never do that. Ask all the clarifying questions first. So a interviewer, being an interviewer, he wanted to know that how you are thinking through. Like, did you thought of all the cases, all the edge cases, corner cases of the problem or not? Talk about them. Explore anything that you are missing out or not. Try to have a conversation. Don't remain silent. Okay, talk about the solution in terms of complexity, in terms of both space, time, both, and then you start writing the code. And as you write the code, you should talk through the code, right? Why you are doing this, why you chose a do while and not a while. Just for example, I'm giving you. So in this 60-minute that I have shown you, this is that you should keep talking. This is only common thing in this 60-minute, right? So it's happening online, right? It might happen that the interviewer is distracted, right? When you remain silent, the interviewer might get distracted to some of the emails that he might have received, right? So try to engage him as much as possible. Okay, so this is all the happy parts that we talked about. I got a solution, I talked about it. It's fine, right? What if you are not getting a solution? This is the key part, right? So when you don't get a solution, you might think that your chances are like vanishing, right? It's not true all the time. You can still make a comeback, right? So what I would suggest is read the problem thoroughly again, right? Try to see which data structure might fit into this one. Try to talk, don't remain silent. So if you remain silent, the interviewer will not get that you are stuck, right? The interviewer is spending his official time with you to hire you, to find the best in you. He's not there to reject you or to say something bad or feel something bad about that you are not getting the solution, right? So think out loud, don't remain silent. Keep the interviewer engaged with your thoughts. So whatever you're thinking, just talk about it. Try the brute force approach, right? If nothing works out, try a unoptimized or a brute force approach. It might happen, and it happens most of the time. At least me being an interviewer, I have always done that. That when I see somebody struggling, I give some pointers to help out the candidate. And I wanted to think that and I wanted to see that when you are stuck, how you're handling the situation. Are you panicking? Because we stuck all the time. Stack Overflow is most used by the professional than by the college students, right? Everybody gets stuck, but how you're handling when you are stuck is important, right? So try to come out of it, try to explore different solution at this point of time. You might get something, or you might get some help from the interviewer, right? And again, prepare for the behavioral or scenario or project based questions. So the hiring team wanted to know like how do you work under pressure. So I want to share some questions over here. So you might be asked like scenarios where you worked efficiently under pressure, right? So you should be prepared for all those things. You have already done it, but you cannot recollect it just during the interview. You will be scratching here and there but won't be able to make out. So make sure you prepared for them. How do you handle challenges? The other question. Have you ever made a mistake and how did you handle it? Right? We all made mistakes. There is nothing to feel that, okay, if I tell about this mistake, he might have certain impression. It's not the case, right? He wanted to know that when you do a mistake, how you handled it. Or maybe describe a scenario where you achieved something as a team. So when we make a team, we need to work in sync. So it's very important to find somebody who's a team player, who is willing to collaborate with others, right? So these questions are meant to get those thoughts out from you. And you need to be prepared well ahead because you already have done, but you cannot recollect it during that 60 minutes. You are already under pressure, right? So spend some time, understand these kind of questions is going to definitely come in one of the rounds, right? Another question that is often asked is how do you handle when let's say you join my team and you disagree with somebody senior, right? How you are going to handle this, or how you are going to handle when you are going to disagree with your junior or your colleague, right? So there are ways to handle it, right? You don't need to be harsh on people all the time if you are a senior, right? There are ways to handle things at different levels. So be prepared for all those things. It's really going to be very helpful for your behavioral or project-based question. Of course, I'm not going to talk about project-based questions because it will vary from project to project, but be prepared to answer everything about the project that you have done. Maybe you have worked with 4 or 5 people, but don't say that this was done by him. So don't stop yourself, don't limit yourself to any boundary. Go and find out everything that is in your reach. Go to the libraries, check how they have implemented things. So don't refrain from trying out, don't keep a boundary, just go ahead and explore. And most importantly, wrapping up the interview, I have kept a separate slide for it because whenever I interview, mostly the fresher, they don't have a question for me and it feels a little awkward. So go ahead and ask about your feedback. So it shows that you are interested to know what you did and you are open to feedback. That's a very good attitude. No matter he answers you or not, it's okay, right? Ask about the kind of project for this interview. So they are interviewing for a particular project. So ask about that project. What is this project all about? It's good that if you are showing that you wanted to know about it before you step in, right? Because I need to know where I'm going to join, right? I should be a chooser in this case. Ask about the team, the team's culture, how the culture is. Do they work from home most of the time, or am I supposed to come to office and meet everybody in person or not? Is there any upcoming work uh, in the pipeline for which the hiring is going on or not? So when you join a project, the project has a vision, right? If the team is expanding or you're joining as somebody's replacement, you need to know all those things, right? We are always looking for a team which is growing, which is expanding. That's the main reason why I chose Microsoft over the other offers that I got, right? Because in this time of pandemic, I saw that Teams is something that's booming up in the market. It's a technology space that's growing in the next 4 to 5 years for sure. So it's good to ask about those things. It's good to know where I am going. So it always creates a very good impression about you. So here are some observations from my experience, and let me have some water. Yeah. So some of the observation being a engineer, being a interviewer, or being a candidate as well. So the first thing is expectation from a fresher or a entry level engineer. So many might feel that, okay, I don't have experience. Why am I saying this to you? So expectations are really high from freshers or entry level engineers compared to a mid senior or a senior engineer. Why I am saying so is that a mid senior and a senior engineer is evaluated in terms of not coding. So coding is taken for granted. There will be a round for coding. They are mostly evaluated based on system design, cloud computing, and many other things. So when you are joining a company as a fresher, the main thing that you will be evaluated that you have done during your college is your coding. So how good you are at coding, that will matter a lot, right? So the expectation is really going to be very high from a fresher or a entry level engineers in terms of coding. Second is talking about the startup versus the big tech companies like Google and Microsoft. So I feel it is good to start your career with a startup or a small company where you are given a lot of responsibilities, right? It gives more learning opportunity, right, in the startups, and they are more open to exploring new technologies, languages, and frameworks. So compared to this well-established companies, it is awesome when you join them after 5 or 6 years or 7 years, or with some experience under your belt, right? So in a startup, what happens is you get to know a lot of things. You can see the end to end of the system, but end to end of this big tech companies is mostly handled by the senior guys. So this is just a thought, but definitely some of the teams, if I talk about my current team, it is more like a startup, right? Because this is a new product that came into the market, and at the moment, Zoom, Teams, and many other players are competing in order to grab the market share, right? So it is more of a startup, though it's a big tech company, but the team that I am working for is more like a startup. So startup kind of culture is quite aggressive and it gives you a lot of learning opportunities. Second is system design knowledge. So you join the team and then you start learning about the system design. It will take time because when you join a team, you'll have some roles and responsibilities. So it is better to start early. And that's why I created the series that I have shown you previously. So please feel free to check out on them. And if you have any doubts, just post questions on the video and I'll be making videos on those topics. That's what I have been doing for the last year. Um, Another thing that I've seen is that people don't make connections. So there are many interns who joined my team. They were initially quite fearful, thinking that, oh, these are like sirs or very seniors. So reach out to them. Whoever you're interacting with them, go ahead and send out a LinkedIn request. May it be a director, senior director, it doesn't matter. It's okay as long as they remember you. Just send it. Don't send it after finishing your internship. Send it the day you meet them. If you find their profile on LinkedIn, go ahead and connect to them. There is no harm in connecting. After all, it's a professional networking and you are professionally working with him. So there is no problem with that. And another thing that we used to do is have some technical discussion with your friends and colleagues. So try exploring new things. So what we used to do is we used to, when I was a junior, few things I have done. So one is that we used to have every Wednesday a session wherein somebody comes and shares some things, right? It was not a official or a formal session. We did as a part of being fresher in Sapient. So where we have 30, 40 guys, we try to learn something every week. Somebody was chosen for the next week, and try to have a culture wherein you promote learning so that you can learn from others and you can teach others as well. And the last thing is learning from your mistakes. So be open. So if you make a mistake, nobody is going to kill you. Everybody does a mistake, right? So just I mentioned that WhatsApp was down. It was some mistake that has happened. Somebody did some mistake, right? Otherwise, it wouldn't have gone down, right? So nobody is going to kill you if you make a mistake. Be open, admit it, but make sure you learn from it and you don't repeat it. As long as you follow these things, I don't think you are going to have any problem in working in a big tech companies. So it's not a good idea to pass on or hide the mistake, right? So just admit it and learn from it and move on. So with that, I think I have talked about many topics over here, and with that, I'll be open for questions. So let me know if you have any questions. This was a very short session. I could not cover everything. This will take more than a week's time to talk about all this thing, and still it won't be enough. So connect with me over YouTube or and Telegram. Ask all the questions, and here also we have some time. I think over to Shubhajit. And
Yes,
let me know if you
thank
have
you,
any
Joy. So
questions.
that has been a quite an insightful session. There are certain points which I have already noted I would want to discuss, and maybe before that and after that, I will also take up questions which are already there on the chat window
Hmm.
and put it across and have a discussion. So, firstly, so there are certain interesting point that I have got and wanted to discuss
Hmm.
is about like managing interviews. So the first question remains because a big part of your presentation today has been around how to prepare for the interview, very insightful. But one basic question which comes in, that how can I get in there? So you had discussed that one is building connections. So very
Right.
frankly, I'm asking on behalf of all the participants or the students here, that have they built a connection with you now? Can they come to you and say, hey, can I
Of
get an
course. Of course. As I mentioned, they can
can I manage an
definitely.
interview in Microsoft? You are there. So
Definitely, definitely. But again, I want you to be prepared because when I'm referring somebody, right, I will not be going to the recruiter. I'll be going to the hiring manager, right? And
okay,
it is my reputation at stake. So I want to understand from the candidate that I want the candidate to be proactive, reach out to me, call me on the weekends or on my free time, have a conversation with me, first convince me that he is fit enough. If I
okay,
am
great.
convinced, I am definitely going to forward it. And I have
Okay.
done it earlier as well.
Okay, great. So, so the best way to connect with you is through your YouTube channel that you said, like,
Yeah, definitely. You can connect to the YouTube channel, or if you're looking out for my LinkedIn profile, that also I have shared. So you can connect to me on LinkedIn. You have the Telegram channel. There also you can post questions if you have some generic doubts. And
okay. Okay, got it. So, anyways, for all the participants, I will be sharing those links so that we can connect directly with Joydeep and I take it from there. So that's a good part. The second thing is like which I want to know. Like, see, you are talking. You have also mentioned about internships, right?
yeah,
So taking the students, and there are also fresher interviews or fresher hiring happens in all the big tech companies, right?
right,
Number one. Number
right,
two is like on the other side, they also do internships.
right.
So where the queue is less, or which is where do you suggest that should they go and stand in the where the queue is less, means that means the probability of getting in is better, right? So what do you suggest there in that?
That's a very interesting and tough question to answer. I would say for the big tech companies, the queue is long in both the place, like, right?
Okay,
If it is 2 million and 2.1 million, it's not going to change your probability with a great extent, right? But when you have a connection, when if I refer somebody to my team, that's
okay,
when the probability goes high, right? If I tell my manager, if there are interns opening in my team, and if I tell my manager, I know him, this guy is willing to learn, he is good, let's give him a chance. That's just for 3 months
okay,
or a few months, right? The internship. My manager won't mind, right? Anyways, the big tech companies don't have a huge expectation from a fresher or an intern, right? It's more of a learning opportunity. So the chances goes very high with the connections that you build.
got it, got it. Please take all of the participants. Maybe you take a note on that. To connect to that, I have a question here from Sabuman who says that okay, I am in first year and how can I get into and I am trying to learn about AI and data science. So
Right.
does learning AI, data science, or something which is in trend or new technology increase their probability to get into these tech companies?
So when the trend is higher, it does mean the industry has more demand on it. It's good to learn all those things. Definitely, it adds on. But being a fresher, the first thing that you will be evaluated is on your coding, data structure, algorithm. So work on your basics. You have interest on AI, ML, or data science. It's a very good thing. Pursue it parallelly. Don't compromise on any of it. So once you do it, you do some projects, some relevant projects, and definitely it will have some extra weightage. And as I mentioned, always showcase your project, right? Once you show what you have done and what you are willing to do, it always increases your chance. And this is the right time. You are at the first year. You might be doing at the end of second year or third year, but try aligning your internship idea from now onwards. Don't just keep it parked for the last 2 months or 3 months. You are not going to make it if even if you are good also. So try aligning with your dreams. Start from now. Connect to the relevant companies, people from the relevant companies, the manager from the relevant teams as well, right? Not just the company. If you are connecting with somebody from Google, but you are connecting to somebody from the let's say embedded system, you are not aligned with your dream. So I would suggest that yeah, it's definitely going to help you.
Great. Okay, next question comes from Joshua.
Mhm.
He asks, what is the best way to improve our technical and programming skills? Any
There,
pointers there?
yeah. So programming skill and technical skill, very good thing. So one is that you need to understand, you need to practice. The first thing is that you have to practice a lot. Everything comes with a practice, right? You do anything, it will come with a practice. It will not happen overnight. So you need to work on your fundamental. The first thing is that you have to understand using the data structure, algorithms, and all those things. And most of the time, the hard problems or the medium problems or leaving aside the simple problems, it would require using multiple data structures at the same time, right? So start thinking about the solution rather than writing the code. So try to come up with the solution in a pen and a paper. Try to see how you're solving it, and then you approach with the code. So practice would be the one thing that I would say, but practice doesn't mean that you are doing it once a week. So if I wanted to learn guitar, the one that I just talked about, I was doing it only on the weekends. I did it for 1 year. Now I can't play anything. But if I had spent 2 to 3 hours dedicatedly every day, I would have played something by now. I could not follow what I followed for programming. So
Okay.
you need
So
to be
do you
systematic.
suggest that your Fibonacci technique that you shared helps there?
A Fibonacci technique is something when you are stuck, right? So when you are doing when you are practicing coding, right? So you do spend 2 hours every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Okay, Sunday you skip, but do it every day. Not that I did on Monday, I did again on the next Monday. You have to be constantly in touch. You have to think about the problem. So when you're stuck with the problem, the gap that I showed you, right? What do you do in that gap? You think about solution that could uh, give me the right solution.
Okay, so I think there is a next question which is coming up, maybe linked to that, where Jivan asked that I'm good at basics, but I'm struggling to apply basic data structure and algorithm on problems and get correct answer. So how to approach coding problems? So is it something linked to that? Is like he is not practicing enough, or is his
No,
technique how he is doing
yeah,
is not the
probably
right one?
exactly. So, even what I would recommend you is that you start with the simple problems or the easy problems, right? And don't just jump to solve the medium level or the hard level problem initially. So pick up the basic problem, take up the algorithms, let's say first. So let's say quicksort. You take the quicksort, understand how the quicksort works, go through the algorithm, and then after a day, try to implement on your own. So this will give you give you control over the basic data structure, right? Often we think that okay, array is a very basic data structure, but there are problems with array that is very hard to solve. So spend some time, so pick up data structure by data structure, let's say pick up array and spend a lot of time, a week maybe, trying to solve only array based problem. Then you move to the linked list. So you have to improvise on the techniques that you are applying. It is okay if you are not able to do it, it's fine. Even I failed initially. So when I started my journey from a commerce background, I was struggling with if else only. I was not able to understand what is if and else and what is if else if and else, right? So the only thing that you need to do is you need to practice things well. So spend time, keep your head calm. Don't think that you are lagging from somebody else. You should be your competitor, nobody else. So you should evolve as a better person today than what you are yesterday. So just keep calm and try focus. And if you want more help, please feel free to connect to me. I'll be able to guide you definitely.
Great. Thank you. So, next question comes from Meet. It's Meet. It's too complex. Can you unmute and speak it out? Maybe Meet. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So please feel free to shoot your question for chat.
Okay, so sir, there was my first question that in the first half of the session you had said while interview nowadays they are taking interview online. So you had said that we should not depend too much on ID
Yeah,
for our coding practice and all.
right.
But uh, in a lot of places I have heard that using ID is really beneficial for writing code quickly and like more in a cleaner way, and there is no problem if even if we are like taking any aid
Mhm.
of writing something, but and there should be no problem if we are if we are having the correct knowledge of how to implement it and how it is executing. So
Right.
if we have the knowledge of how it is happening, then it should be fine to use IDE. So that I have heard a lot of from a lot of people.
Right. Right.
But now today you said that
Right. So,
interviewers also say about writing on whiteboard. This I
yes.
heard first time that.
Okay. Maybe you heard the first time because previously how the interview used to happen. So let me tell you something that I used to go to say Microsoft Office for the interview, and I'll be taken to a meeting room, right? The meeting room doesn't have a computer. It has a whiteboard and some markers, right? And I have to write the code. That's what it has been all the time. Even for the Adobe, the interview was same. I was not given a computer to write the code. And talking about the ID, yeah, these days some of the editors, some of the links that you might get has some auto completion and all those things. But last time this year when I tried for Microsoft and for both Microsoft and Google, what they did was they shared Google Docs with me. There was no ID. I was just given a Google Docs link. Same with Microsoft. They have given me a I forgot the name of the site. So you write the code there and it is shared in real time. So there was no auto completion. There is no problem that you can write good codes or you can write clean codes. But what I meant to say is that if you are building that dependency, if you are not comfortable writing in a notepad, you never know the kind of environment that you might get during an interview, right? So let's say this pandemic was not there. So what would have happened? These companies would have come to your college for hiring, right? And they wouldn't have allowed your personal computer to be there to write the code, right? They would have given you a paper and a pen to write the code, or they might have asked you to do it in the whiteboard that you have in the college, right? So it's okay to write in the IDE, but once you are out of your comfort zone, and that will happen during the time of the interview, right? And you might not feel very confident that time. So see, what I meant is if you don't remember the exact some method names, it's fine. I am not saying that, okay, if you are writing the method name wrong, it's okay. There is no problem with that. But if you don't get an ID during the interview, you might not feel comfortable about it.
Okay.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you for answering because I didn't had knowledge about that part.
Right.
That
Okay, just to tell on that is like, see, when you talk about ID, the question comes which ID? There are hundreds of ID available, right? So then which ID comes in, how it is used? So that becomes a question. So from my experience, in my interviews, I have never used any ID. Most of the cases, it was pen and paper or boards being used. So today, since it is happening remotely, maybe certain tools and ID is
Yes.
being used, but we should not be dependent on that. Be it that's it's the pen and paper or a board or when you write gives you the ultimate clarity in your thought process. So that is one of the guiding thing which is very much needed. So the basic very minimalistic method of expressing or conveying what you are thinking is maybe the writing. So that's why I be it ID or not the ID should not be much of a deciding factor there.
Right. Absolutely.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Let's move over to the next question. Sorry, I think we are running 10 minutes over time. So I have a couple of questions more and we can wrap up by 5 minutes will be good. It's
Sure.
okay, Jay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. Thank you. So, Ojasvi said he says he's a final year mechanical engineering student and I'm willing to join IT industry. And as of now, I have got offer from TCS ITIS domain. And I am still improving skills in coding as well as learning Flutter for app development. So, should I give more time on coding or development?
So if you are looking for a career on the IT side and you are targeting for the big tech companies, definitely you should give more time because your current curriculum is not aligned with IT, right? So definitely you have to shell out some extra time from your end. You can take subscription of some courses. There are a lot of learning platform these days like Udemy and all, or and you have to try it out hands-on. So you need to have that definitely the extra time in order to bridge the gap that the IT or the CAC students are uh, building over the time.
Okay, great. So that is what he is doing. So I think he's on the correct path.
Right,
So
right,
since you are from the mechanical engineer background, might be you have to put a little more time in coding and
exactly,
development too. So because you have not gone through that structured way of learning
exactly,
which your CSE friends are doing, right?
right.
Next question comes from Shubhankar. Sir, I use Hacker Rank for practice. Should I continue with it or should I change to Lead Code or CodeShift?
HackerRank is a good platform. That's where I started from. It's a good platform. But definitely you can try out some programs from LeetCode as well. LeetCode is also adding a lot of programs these days. Don't need to take the pro one, but the free ones does have a lot of open questions that you can go ahead and try. But yeah, definitely HackerRank is definitely a very good site.
Okay, great. Hope that answers your question, Shubhankar. Next comes a question from Reena. Why should we prepare data structure and algorithm as an absolute beginner? So,
Well, you can, there are several books that you can read, or I think the go-to place for me would be Geeks for Geeks, from where you get the very basics. There are a lot of videos in YouTube or in the Udemy as well, the free courses. So you can check out them as well. So you have to find out what you want. Basically, you want to learn about the data structure. So one thing could be is your reading thing, so you can buy books. There are a lot of good authors whose book you can follow, or you can go to sites like GFG, Geeks for Geeks, I mean, from where also you'll get a lot of materials. And if you are fond of watching videos and learning it, you can do that even. For that, even I have some videos on my channel, though it was not very systematic, but yeah, I plan to create some videos on those topics as well.
okay, okay. Go and subscribe to Joy's channel.
Yep,
Maybe you will get
sure.
some a better way of learning. Okay. Next comes from Ritesh. What about IT security, web app penetration testing? I think Ritesh wants to mean is like a cyber security or IT security as a job or a domain. I can ask is like I just rephrasing the question. Is do we still need to be a good coding into that, or do we need to get through a same line of practice to get into that kind of a job where uh,
Uh, yeah, if you are talking about the security, definitely coding and all is there, but you have to give a lot of effort towards the networking side as well. So these days, all these breaches happen over the network, and we tend to keep our network sanity higher. So definitely, coding is one area you have to give equal amount of effort towards the networking and the DevOps side, right? How you are securing the connection, how we are encrypting the data. So do go ahead and learn about those things also as well. And talking about the domain that you mentioned, this domain is going to be have a crazy demand, right? With more and more things going online, this cloud applications and all, with IoT coming into life, this is a very good domain. You have made an excellent choice, and do prepare according to it.
great. Okay, let's move over to the next one. Britanjali has a question. Apart from using connection, how can we apply for internship in big tech companies?
Well, there are a lot of sites that you can try out for, but again, when you do that, it goes and your profile goes and sit into the same pool. So the one thing is that you can try out this coding contest. So often when you are at college and if you are able to crack those contests are not easy, I would say. So there is a chance that you can get some internship offers from them. So what you need to do is that there are a lot of people right out there, and you need to stand out. So you can make some good projects. You have a strong GitHub profile. So these are the things that counts, and definitely I would keep my most weightage on the connection part. So I guess Gitanjali asked this question. So Gitanjali, reach out to the people. There is nobody stopping you. Just share, just go ahead and send them an invite and connect with them. So that's definitely going to help you. So we need to open up ourselves. We cannot be introvert when we have to fight with a million of candidates who's ready to take on that opportunity, right?
Great. Okay, next one comes from Ganesh. Different one, very interesting one.
Mhm.
Ganesh says that see, time management is what he wants to stress on. You are the best ones to answer this because you do YouTube, like making the content, presentation, recording, editing the videos.
Oh.
Beside doing your job, how do you manage that? Coming back from college after 10 hours and managing the remaining 14 hours with eating, sleeping, practice coding, it itself is very hard. I can hardly manage 2 3 hours to code because of college stuff. I am from EC.
Oh yeah, I completely connect to you on that question, and it's difficult. So what happens in most of the days, I stretch at night. So after dinner, what I do is I spend 1 hour or 30 minutes. So if you see, my video frequencies are not that great. So I have only 1 or 2 videos in a week. So Monday I do some 1 hour, Tuesday another 1 hour for editing, Wednesday again 1 hour for creating the thumbnails and all. So it's not that I do it in a single day. I have to split out the things because with senior software engineer comes a lot of benefit of late night calls, daytime slogging. So there are a lot of things that I have to manage, and often it does happen that I don't get even any time. So what I do is whenever I have some free time, so let's say this Christmas weekend is coming up, right? I will spend some good amount of time creating a lot of videos and keep a pool of my videos, which I'll be putting in the January, month of January, when I'll have a sleepless night for my work. So yeah, it's all about management of time.
Good, good. Just to share a quick anecdote, I have a reference to that. I was listening to one interview of Sonu Sood. So he's a health freak, and after during pandemic, I think he got quite working with the social activities, got famous. So everyone knows about it. So in an interview, he was asking, he's a health freak. As you have seen, he's like it's always into fitness, exercise, and his body is like that. So someone says, out of all this daily schedule that you have, so busy schedule, how do you manage to work out in a gym and spend? His answer was simple. He says that I know I have 23 hours in my life because 1 hour is gone to my body and in my health and training. So that is taken away. So that way it's like it's reserving your time, and that's a very simple way. And I can tell that Ganesh, it's not about time management, because time management I feel is the wrong terminology that we use, because we can't manage time. Time will flow on its own way.
Exactly.
So it is only how we build our habits, and the habits does not come just like that. Habit comes from what is your goal, what you want to achieve, how much how do you break it up into those goals into actionable items, or and you track that and make it happen. That is what those small success thing actually leads to what you want to do. And at the result you see that what is happening is like someone has managed the time better than me. So that is how it is perceived or seen, but actually it is more about setting a goal, setting a plan against it to achieve that goal, do it consistently to follow up and make it happen. I surely it will, you will see the result. So that's from my end, but I think I get a point in that. Maybe this is a common question I get from a lot of you. Maybe we will have one more session around this topic itself, that how to manage time effectively and get things what we want to get in that planned effort. Good. With that, let me move to the next question, and maybe that's the last one I'm going to take, because we are almost 5:20 now. Yeah, Dhrupad Jyoti has a question. I'm a second year student getting started with web and doing DS problems. I'm building things like small web pages application. I'm learning things, but I'm stuck at this finishing one tutorial, then starting one again loop. Any suggestion to learn things more efficiently? Okay, so it looks like he's wants to learn a lot of things, and he's moving one tutorial to other, but not getting the end feeling like he's doing actually learn something, or maybe like that. So
Mhm.
any tips or
Uh,
anything that you can suggest, Joy?
So, Dhrubajyoti, actually, I would like to know a little more details about the kind of project that you are targeting. Is it a UI kind of project or is it a backend kind of project? Though I'll answer for both of them. So, if you are doing a backend kind of project, first lay out the design that you have in mind, and then figure out what are the components that you will be requiring. Maybe you need a Cassandra database, you need a Redis cache, you need a Kafka. Let's say, for example. Maybe on the UI side, you need Bootstrap, you need jQuery, and maybe you need React. Just take an example, right? So before you start doing the project, understand about all these technologies that you have made the selection, right? Learn about them before you start developing the project, right? Not not that you start developing the project and then you start learning and then again develop, then again learn. So that could be one way, but at least get a basic hang of what you are trying to do, right? So again, in the first slide, if you remember, I have segregated study and interview preparation as two separate things. So here study and the development should be two separate things. So try them out separately. Don't try to mix them. Often we end up mixing them. That's quite natural human thing, but try to get the basics of it even before you try to do it.
Okay.
Does that answer or
Maybe, yeah. If not, Dhrubajyoti, feel free to connect with
yeah,
Joydeep
sure,
through his,
definitely, definitely.
yeah. And also, I'm sharing his YouTube channel and also the Telegram link when you can also directly send a one-to-one message. And I think, Joy, then we'll wrap up this session for today. We are end of the question.
Exactly.
And on behalf of all the participants, I'd like to give a huge thank you to share your experience with all the participants here. And participants, if you wish to pass on a thank you to Joy, I think the best way will be to go and subscribe to his channel. I think he will be the most happiest in
Of
that
course,
case.
it would be great.
Yeah, so
And
that the best way of saying the thank you will be that. So just go ahead and do that. And Meet, I think LinkedIn profile was shared, but I will do that. Yes, great.
just
So
to end, Shubhajit, that we had a question in the first slide, right? Can I make it? So you got to know that I did, and now it's your turn. I want you to do it. So once again, thanks Shubhajit, and thank you Scout Life for this great opportunity. It was great to connect with you all. Hope to speak to you guys once again soon.
thank you, Joy. Bye bye, and bye to all.
Bye bye.
And maybe yes, and I will share the LinkedIn just a second. Okay. Before you leave, also we have, if you can follow us on Scout Live, it will be on our LinkedIn channel. It's good. Yes, Abhishek, thank you. Abhishek shared Joydeep's LinkedIn profile on the chat window. Hit that and set a connection with him. And all the best for all of you. Maybe some of you joins Joy in Microsoft.
Of course, I would look forward to it.
And I will be looking for that. Uh, if that
That's
happens,
what the
please,
message is.
yeah,
I
please.
want you to guys to do it now. And definitely, like, I'm ready to help. So just reach out to me. I love doing that. So that gives me personal satisfaction. So please feel free to reach and connect to me.
Okay. Thank you, Joy. Thank you, everybody. Bye bye. Have a good day and
Thank you.
stay safe.
Yep. Thank you.
Bye.
Recording stop.